Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for inviting me to share some of my insights into the use of warm asphalt. My name is Steve Isaacs, and I'm here really to discuss warm asphalts from the client's point of view. Many of you will know me, but by way of a quick introduction. So I've been in the asphalt highway maintenance industry for nearly 40 years now. I started back in 1982 in North Yorkshire County Council at their materials laboratories in Northallerton, and I progressed my career with many authorities through the years. And I worked up to be materials engineer for Wiltshire County Council. I've been technical lead for Surrey County Council, for East Sussex County Council, for Derbyshire County Council, and I've also worked in Cambridgeshire County Council. So I've got a reasonable insight into what the local authorities want from a technical point of view and the materials they're chasing. I've also worked as an associate director with Transport Research Laboratory all over the world, and I'm currently the development director for PTS, as you can see from my background. With East Sussex and with Derbyshire, I was part of the asset management teams that are in place there, and as with both, then I was writing the asset management policies and plans, and involved in the materials and maintenance plans for both authorities. I first started using warm asphalt back in 2009 with Surrey County Council. Surrey is a very intelligent and lucky authority in that they still have their in-house laboratories, and I was fortunate enough to be heading it up in 2009. And during that time, we had 3 trials of 3 different suppliers warm asphalt. Having our lab meant we were able to test for any of the attributes that may have been of concern. So we looked for the compaction issues, we looked for the materials temperatures when they were on site, we looked for binder bleeding, we looked for the penetration grade of the binder as to what it was when it was manufactured warm as opposed to when it had been manufactured at normal temperatures or hot temperatures. And we never found any issues of concern. We were very happy with the materials. I'm no longer running Surrey Laboratories, but I do live in Surrey, and those sites, all of them, are still there and still performing as you would expect them to be doing. It was base materials, it was binder materials. I wouldn't have expected that in 12 years, be them warm, hot, or anything else, that they would have failed and been showing any distress by now, but they're not. So far so good with that. Moving on a few years, then in 2019 and in 2020, I was as I said, working with the asset management teams of East Sussex and with the asset management team of Derbyshire County Council. I was there within their laboratories, and we were again writing materials plans, materials policies for the asset management team, and in both cases I was recommending that as far as asphalts go, then we should have, and we wrote it into the county specifications, that the norm would be warm materials. There was no cost benefit directly to the authority for saying that. And so you go, so why would we do that? Well, all of the benefits are pretty much environmental. From a client's point of view, there's a number of advantages, and all of them are environmentally based. So a reduction in the carbon footprint for your materials we use is a biggie. I'm sure many of you are thinking about the Transport Minister's statement just 2 or 3 weeks ago, when she stated councils must have a quantifiable carbon reduction plan or lose cash. Is the headline on our Highways for Fridays, and absolutely starting to understand this, and is number one item in most authorities' agendas these days. The other big environmental saving from warm asphalt is that I expect to see more durable materials being manufactured. We all know binders lose about a third of their penetration grade, and although not directly correct, I'm going to call that their flexibility during the manufacturing of the asphalts. Well, it's not the case in warm asphalts. They don't lose all of that penetration grade in the binder, and as such, they are more flexible when they are placed on the roads. And that just a few points will make a difference. A few penetration grade points will make the difference of the life of the roads by a number of years. Just a couple of weeks ago, I attended the Adept Northern Region Soils and Materials Engineers group, and warm asphalt was on the agenda. A number of authorities there have been using warm asphalt. Everybody was very much in favour of the principle of moving to warm. Everybody understands very clearly the need for the environmental benefits and grabbing them when we can. And but a number of the people there were reporting that they were using warm asphalts, but maybe not for the right reasons. They were using it as a compaction aid. I have done this once in one site in East Sussex. We also did this. We had a very long reversing site for the vehicles that were delivering asphalt, maybe up to a mile. One vehicle at a time was able to get into the site, so there was often 15 or 20 minutes between vehicles pulling off and being back onto the paver. And as such, then we wanted to try and give the contractor as much opportunity as possible to get the materials compacted, and we did actually use warm asphalt additives and still heated the materials up to full-on temperature. Well, this seems to be becoming quite a normal practice in a number of areas, and honestly, I would suggest there's no need for this. We know how to comp materials, we know how to compact them. We're achieving the densities we want with our materials. We should be taking warm asphalt and using it for the environmental benefits, because if we heat the material up to full temperature and still add them, well, we're not only losing all the environmental benefits, we're probably paying extra for the additives to be added in, to be put in there, and us to believe that we need the material to get compaction. So so I don't think that any of us really believe that should become the norm. Only in exceptional cases for using the materials. With my with my technical head on, trying to think of disadvantages as to why, from a client's point of view, I might be concerned for using warm asphalt. I think the only real concern I have is when we're using high percentages of recycled materials. It's questionable enough as to the homogeneity that we achieve from mixing recycled materials in with virgin materials and virgin binders. It's very difficult to tell at a mixed material stage as to whether we've got that mix anywhere with hot materials. The cooler the materials, the less likely it is that we'll get that homogeneous mix between recycled materials and virgin materials. So I would suggest I'm definitely I would be limiting the amount of percentage of recycled materials that we're putting into mixes if we're making them warm. we can test for these properties, we can check for these properties, and we need to do that work and publish the findings. But at the moment, I would have thought 20% of recycled is absolutely all we should be looking at if we're using warm mix additives. So from a client's point of view, and definitely from your carbon reporting point of view, I think every authority needs to be using warm materials as the norm. Warm should be the norm, and we should take all the environmental benefits we can. As I say, caution on the amount of recycled that we use. There's plenty of requirement for recycled materials, recycled asphalts in whether it's type 4s through to other materials. So it's not an issue that we can't overcome. So with that, well, there is a small issue. It's the pricing of the materials. As a client, it's come up a few times. I think as we all start getting to using warm materials as the norm, one of the biggest costs for the suppliers, certainly while I was making asphalt, was was actually getting it up to hot temperatures and using fuel oils. If we can reduce the amount of fuel that we're using and benefit our carbon, that's a cost saving that will offset the cost of the additives. And as the fuel is going up and up in price, then that should more than offset. So there is an opportunity if we all move across to norm, to probably start seeing some price reductions in the future. That would be obviously very welcome. Once again, thank you very much for inviting me to share my understanding from a client's point of view. I'd like to hand back now and say goodbye.